On the 18th of September, pro-Ukrainian media Radio Free Europe announced that Russian forces pulled off what they called a subterranean ambush for a third time. The first time was in Avdiivka in January of 2024, and Russian troops used a partially flooded water outflow tunnel to creep into a quiet, wooded district in the Ukrainian-controlled city. Helping pave the way for the city's capture weeks later. The second was in early March of 2025 in Sudzha, in Russia's Kursk region. Ukrainian forces, who had invaded the region 7 months earlier, were surprised by another group of Russian soldiers who crept through an unused underground gas pipeline. Ukrainian forces pulled out of Kursk weeks later. Now it appears that Russian forces have pulled off a third pipeline ambush just north of Kupiansk, a Kharkiv region city where Ukrainian forces have been under increasing pressure. Will this too signal the coming collapse of Kupiansk in a matter of weeks? The operation, which appears to have culminated last week, involved an unknown number of Russian soldiers using carts and electric-powered scooters to secretly move as many as 13 kilometers under the Oskil River, they reported. As at that date, the report was that Ukraine controls the western banks of the south-flowing river and has relied on it in part for its defense of Kupiansk and the Kharkiv region. It was then unclear how successful the operation was. Ukrainian officials were quick to deny initial reports, but then appeared to downplay the consequences, saying the effort had been thwarted, the pipeline destroyed and flooded, and an unknown number of soldiers taken prisoners. Still, open-source battlefield trackers, including Deep State, which has ties to the Ukrainian military, show noticeable Russian advances north of Kupiansk, home to a key junction for rail lines that stretch west into the Kharkiv region. As at September 17th, Russian troops had purportedly advanced up to Kupiansk's northern outskirts and possibly into the city's limits. Reluctant to admit the ingenuity of the Russian command, the pro-Ukrainian sources wrote the following. If nothing else, however, it highlights both the ingenuity or the recklessness of Russian commanders and growing experience in undertaking risky operations. Much of the pipeline network that spreads throughout Ukraine was built in the Soviet era, and Ukrainian experts said it was likely that Russian military engineers had detailed maps and schematics of the system. According to Deep State, which first highlighted the operation late in the first week of September, Russian units entered the local unused pipeline network in the village of Liman Pershi, which is about 20 kilometers northwest of Kupiansk on the opposite eastern bank of the Oskil River. Units built low-slung wheeled carts and used electric scooters to move through the pipes, an assertion backed up in part by multiple videos published on Russian-linked Telegram channels. Moving under the Oskil at a depth of up to 2 meters, units took about 4 days to reach Avdiivka on Kupiansk's northern outskirts. Food caches were set up along the way as well. In quotation, it's a pity that the experiences of Avdiivka and Sudzha were not taken into account, Deep State said in a commentary accompanying its findings. But once again, we want to believe that this pipe will finally serve as a lesson for Ukrainian forces. Ukrainian military officials responded by partially confirming the subterranean operation, also claiming that only a few Russian soldiers managed to emerge from the pipeline and take up forward positions, and that most had either been killed or captured. In quotations, the exit from the pipeline that the enemy tried to use to move personnel into Kupiansk is under the control of Ukrainian defenders. The pipeline does not lead directly into the city. This was a statement from the General Staff of Ukraine on September 12th. In one video that was released to a prominent Ukrainian war blogger, a man identified as a Russian prisoner of war said officers sent soldiers into the pipeline in groups of 10. Men who balked were tied up and beaten, the man said. He said he crawled and used carts and scooters to travel around 13 kilometers. About 70 Russians had made it through the pipeline when they were confronted by Ukrainian troops, the soldier said. Commanders ordered the surrounded Russian troops to blow themselves up. Yuri Fedorenko, a unit commander with Ukraine's 429th Separate Unmanned Systems Regiment, said that Russian troops managed to poke holes in several places in the pipelines, particularly in wooded areas, which afforded them cover to emerge and scatter undetected by Ukrainian drones. Ukrainian forces had destroyed one or more branches of the pipelines, making it impassable, Fedorenko told Donbass Realities. Fedorenko continued and said that it was difficult to defend against the Russian pipeline attacks because of how extensive the underground network is, how difficult it is to get tractors or backhoes to key locations to dig up or block the pipelines. Several Ukrainian reports said the pipeline in question near Kupiansk may have been partially blocked or destroyed in the past, but Russian sappers or soldiers managed to clear the route. Indeed, for the days following this report on the 18th of September, things got noticeably worse for Ukraine on the Kupiansk front. Like with a breakthrough to Dogopilia, Russian sources have been more scarce with their reports, and thus it is the Ukrainian reports from which much of this information is derived. They report that on one hand, Russian forces that came out of a pipe near Radivka continued to push deeper into Kupiansk, occupying apartment blocks in hopes of holding out until reinforcements arrive. At the same time, they have expanded their control in Kindrashivka and are trying to move from Mirn toward Sobolivka to secure the local woods west of the city. The Russians, they say, also stepped up pressure on the left bank of the Oskil and advanced about 3.5 kilometers north of Stepova, Novosilka, where Ukrainian troops continue to hold the line. From the other side, the Ukrainian forces are not hurrying to abandon their bridgehead on the left bank, so things, they say, are not all that bad. Here, the Russian advance has had limited success. Their main effort focused on advancing along the right bank, but after cutting off the exit from the pipe, they found themselves in a difficult situation. Resupply is not arriving fast enough. The entire 40-kilometer bridgehead on the right bank can be severed at any point, since its maximum width is just over 3 kilometers. It is already known that elements of the 3rd Assault Brigade have been sent there to eliminate the acute threat to Kupiansk. Their task will be to cut logistics completely. Once that happens, the assault groups in the city will not be able to keep playing hide-and-seek for long. The threat to Kupiansk should be eliminated now, before it's too late, warned Ukrainian military sources. On the 25th of September, however, there was a sense of alarm coming from Andriy Bezedin, the Ukrainian head of the Kupiansk administration. He said that Russia is using tanks, mortars, artillery, multiple rocket launchers, and dropping guided aerial bombs daily. The Russian forces are also actively using FPV drones on fiber optic cables, which are impossible to suppress with electronic warfare. They are hunting people and vehicles. All approaches and roads within the town are controlled by enemy drones, they say. The town's infrastructure is completely destroyed. There is no electricity, water, or gas supply, nor is there mobile communication, he warned. Despite the fact that the local authorities are unable to bring in humanitarian aid, as of September 25th, there are 680 civilians on the right bank of Kupiansk and another 1,660 in the community who refuse to evacuate. Bezedin emphasized that the presence of civilians prevents the Ukrainian forces from operating at full capacity. He said that a small number of people are evacuated daily. This month, more than 200 civilians have been evacuated. Bezedin stressed that in Kharkiv, evacuees will be provided with all necessary support. There are free places for compact living, payments from international funds in the amount of 10,500 hryvnias for each evacuee, a health center of Kupiansk residents, and a medical center. Fast forward to today, the report from the Russian source Top War was that the Ukrainian administration of the Kharkiv region has completely closed the entrance and exit from Kupiansk for civilian vehicles, including volunteers assisting in the evacuation of the civilian population remaining in the city. Now residents of Kupiansk who want to leave for the territories controlled by Ukraine have to go out on foot. Since the armed forces of Ukraine have mined the roads, attempts to leave Kupiansk are fraught, danger to life. At the same time, Ukrainian militants often opened fire on civilians remaining in Kupiansk, suspecting them of sympathy for Russia. According to the Ukrainian administration, about 650 civilians currently remain in Kupiansk. There are no civilian doctors in the city, so it is often simply impossible to get medical care on the spot. In Kupiansk, fierce fighting continues. There is data on the breakthrough of the units of the Russian armed forces to the city cemetery, located in the southwestern part of the city. Thus, our troops are trying to cover the positions of the Ukrainian enemy garrison from the flank, writes the Russian source. The northern, northwestern, and northeastern parts were occupied earlier. The situation in Kupiansk resembles a puff pastry, they say. The Ukrainian garrison is actually divided into three parts. The Russian source finished off the article with this quote: "The enemy, that is Ukraine, already actually admits the loss of a significant part of Kupiansk, but stubbornly continues to claim that at least half of the city's territory is under the control of the Russian armed forces, limiting itself to reports of bad trends with the armed forces of Ukraine on this section of the front."